And we're live. Mr. John Cleary.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you for
Hello.
joining me on this lovely
You're
Friday
welcome. Thank you for
afternoon.
inviting me.
Yeah, no worries at all. So, obviously, I host Hyde and Speak typically once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, just as an opportunity to really have a conversation with a business owner, talk about the highs, the lows, everything in between, how it's been, what your journey's been like. Because I think it's important to remember that there are people behind these brands and these businesses. So, John, would you do me the honour of introducing yourself?
Hello, I'm John. No, I'm John Cleary. I am a professional photographer. I've been a professional photographer now since 2010. Long time.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've done all sorts of different genres. Some you'll be surprised about, some you won't. And
Okay, let's delve into that in a
yeah,
minute.
and now I've kind of settled on personal brand, but I've just
Hmm.
in the last year or so, as you know, I've launched a really new, very innovative, in my own humble opinion,
Mm.
membership scheme for small businesses, which
Yeah.
which is going okay.
Yeah. So let's talk on that bit for a minute and we'll go back to the genres that you've been through. So just explain
Okay,
what your membership is and what the offering is.
so I'll tell you. Yeah, let me tell you what it is, because there is a lot of stuff. Why does the phone always start going when as soon as you go
Oh, I
live on
know.
something?
Right.
Let me
You're like,
let me
stop
go and do not
distracting me. I can
disturb.
only concentrate on one
I
thing.
should, I should have. Yeah, exactly. Right. So we're on do not disturb now. Right. Um.
Nice.
So yeah. So I be more visible has been designed for lots of things, and it has so many benefits for me and for my clients.
Mm.
So it's really for people who want to, funnily enough, be more visible. So it's a way for people to get photographs regularly, and we're talking monthly here, for what is essentially a knockdown price.
Mm.
Professional photographers photographs. So it's basically I'm just going to make a complete ass of myself here live on LinkedIn.
That's
Hi everyone.
absolutely fine. It will make you endearing to many because they'll realize
Um,
that actually you're just a human being, right? I
I
tell you
am
what I
just
love
a
about
human.
it because obviously I'm one of your members. And what I love about it is you get the refreshers once a month. So I said to you, didn't I, really recently, I was like, actually, can we take some photos in the ICC soon? Because my business is based in Birmingham and I want to have some images in that really cool space. So every single month I get an opportunity to say, actually, I've got this idea because I want to do a post on it. And rather than taking some mediocre selfie on my phone or asking someone to take it for me and being half okay with the photo that I get proper photographs every single month. So I'm building up a catalogue of different photos wearing different clothes, in different lighting, in different with different backgrounds that ultimately I'll be able to deploy for ages. And the other benefit is obviously I get to meet loads of really nice people because there's kind of 5 or 6 people there each time. It's not always the same people. I can obviously come to the Leamington one if I want to, or I can do the Birmingham one, or whichever else there is. So I can book in whichever one suits me. And that's what I love about it. It's the flexibility of it. It's there is a space absolutely for those branding shoot days. But actually, the thing I love about it is the fact I don't have to think about everything just for one day. It's right. I've had those photos done. Wonder what I'll do next month. Oh, actually, John, this would be a great one. Can we please factor that in at some point? So for me, it's about the flexibility for sure.
Cool. Would you like to be my marketing manager?
Yeah, there you go. Right, should we strategize?
Um, yeah. So that's exactly what it's all about. So, but the reason that I did it really was so that people had regular photos, because the
Mm,
problem with and like you say, that there is absolutely a room for personal brand and for one-off shoots.
mm.
I still do those,
Yeah.
but for a lot of people, they are putting up posts on LinkedIn or what have you, and people are scrolling past them because there's no images to go with it or nothing that's
Mm,
stopping people from scrolling. and the beauty of this is that if you've got an idea for a post that we can create a photograph that supports it, you put that photograph up with the post, people will stop and they'll read it. So you're getting much more visibility. And one of the members who we both know, Jamie, he was looking at his figures on LinkedIn, and when he started using his images from Be More Visible, his numbers just went way up because people were stopping to look at them. So
exactly.
it works.
It's the breaking the scroll, I think they call
Engagement,
it. There's some technical term for it, where because it's an image, you're more likely to stop and take a moment to absorb what's being said above it, supposedly. And I think actually on reflection, I probably do get more engagement on my photograph posts than I do the ones where I don't bother to put anything at all. But yeah.
Well, people do, because it's text just, we're our eyes and our brains are tuned to images, and they're definitely tuned to faces. So if we see a face, we'll recognize, if it's a face we know, we'll recognize it very quickly, and that will kind of try to stop us from scrolling. The example that I always use is, I could write a brilliant Facebook, LinkedIn post about the nutritional benefits of a banana. I couldn't, but let's pretend. And if I could post it, I could post it, and people would scroll past it. I could stick it up with a photo of a banana, and people would think, "What's a banana doing on LinkedIn?" And probably more people would stop and read it. But if there's a photo of me holding a banana, then people say, "Oh, there's John with a banana. What's he doing with a banana?" And they'd want to stop and read the post, because the people are just nosy, right? That's what they do. So that's how it works.
Yeah. So what was? Oh, sorry. Carry on.
No, go on. The other aspect of it, which is current at the moment, but I need to do a poll on the current members and find out how much value they're getting from it, is that I also do a monthly call that anybody who's a member can come along to, and I invite somebody who's kind of related into being visible. So it might be a body language expert, it might be an expert on LinkedIn, it might be a copywriter. Those kind of people come along and do it's not a pitch, it's a like, here's some tips on what you can do.
It's like a bit of a masterclass kind of thing.
Yeah, so there's also this growing library in the member area of all these videos of experts who've come along to talk to people. So there's that as well when you join. So that's it.
So it's so much more than just photos. This is the thing I think people need to understand about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bit of networking in there. There's a bit of networking, there's a bit of education,
bit of learning,
and there's a whole load of photos. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's go back to Be More Visible. Start of your photography career, because you alluded to the fact that you have done many different genres, some of which we would be surprised about and some not. So talk me through why photography to start off with. Like, what was the rationale for getting into photography?
So I'm gonna have to go back a little bit further to before I was a photographer. So before I was a photographer, not many people will know this, but I was a business change consultant in global HR in IBM. And IBM were very forward thinking in terms of working from home. And they worked out quite early on that if everybody worked at home, they didn't need to spend quite as much on offices, and that actually an ISDN line and a desk and a chair was a lot cheaper than office space. So I became a home worker way back in 2003.
Way before.
So over 20 years ago. Yeah. And in those days it was ISDN lines, because most houses still had those modem things that makes squeaky noises.
Yeah, that funny noise.
We didn't have broadband quite then. So I worked from home, and all of my meetings were done on a telephone conference line. We didn't have video like this because it just wasn't up to it. And over a period of time, I noticed that I was becoming less and less productive, and it got to a point where I was turning up for work every day, but not actually getting anything done. And I knew something was wrong. And I went to doctors, and the doctor signed me off work. And IBM being IBM, they got me some counselling to try and work out, what was actually the problem. And it turned out that I wasn't getting enough human connection. Because I was working. So there was just no face to face. I wasn't having any water cooler kind of conversations and stuff like that. It was just literally, I was just on telephone conferences all the time. So you pick up the phone, go through the agenda, finish the call, put the phone down, onto the next one, or do some work or whatever. So I'm like, hell, what am I going to do now? Because like I've got this
This
job,
is my
and
job.
I can't really afford to just give it up. Yeah, exactly. So how am I going to fix it? So I was a bit of a keen amateur photographer. So I thought, well, okay, maybe what I could do is I could do weddings, because that's just a Saturday job, right? And and you know
Being married
it's
to a
not
wedding
because your
photographer,
husband's one.
that is
Yeah.
not the case.
Yes. But on the outside, you just rock up, take a few photos, and all's good. Yeah, indeed. So so I thought, okay, well, I could do weddings. I could do weddings at the weekend, and then that will kind of get me out and get me some face to face, some quality face to face time, and all will be good. So that's what I did. I signed on to a photography business course for about 12 months, which was one day a month for a whole year, and that was it. I became a family and wedding photographer. Now the thing was that after, just trying to think, about a year and a half after I'd started this, there was a voluntary redundancy program, and I'd been with IBM for quite a while, so the thought of a year's salary tax free kind of appealed. I just thought, I'm out, and
gave you a
I've
bit
been
of breathing
self-employed ever
space.
since. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. So I've not really answered your question yet, have I?
You've half answered
so
it. Stop skirting around the issue, John.
Yeah,
Break it to
okay.
us.
Well, it's in some ways it's kind of embarrassing, but it's not. So I started off family and weddings. Didn't really get on with family, if I'm honest. So I didn't do that.
Why do you think?
that
What
long.
do you think that was?
I don't know. It was just, I think it was lack of control. Makes me sound like a control freak, because you don't have control at a wedding, but at least the people that you're photographing don't run around like lunatics, and do you know what I mean? It's like when you're trying to photograph kids, it's really hard. Any parent knows that, because like if you're a parent especially, it's just really hard to photograph kids. So I decided that I'd give that a miss, and carried on with weddings. Now the interesting thing is that at the end of our 1 year course, photography business course, the guy who was one of the guys who was on the course said, well, we all said, why don't we meet up after 12 months, and we'll kind of share what we've learned, mistakes we've made, successes we've had, so that we can all learn from one another. So we're like, yeah,
good
great.
idea.
So one of the guys organised it, and he managed to get one of his wedding venues, and we stayed there for the weekend, and it was all good. He got hair and makeup people there, and some models there and everything, so that we could kind of practice our craft as well while we were there. One of the options was boudoir.
Right.
Being a heterosexual man, I thought, that sounds like great fun.
Why not? Sod it.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was the worst half hour of my life.
Oh my God, why?
It just felt so uncomfortable. It just felt really uncomfortable and awkward. It's like this guy wandering around with a camera, and this young lady in a skin piece kind of laid on a bed, and it just felt.
You're like, oh, it just felt really seedy.
Yeah, it did feel a bit seedy. Anyway,
that's hilarious.
I got an email back from her after I sent her the photos to say, just kind of going crazy over these photos, saying how much she loved them and thought they were really
Amazing.
beautiful, and couldn't believe how. And I'm like, oh my god, that's an amazing reaction. So I tried it a few more times with other models, and
Yeah.
kept getting the same reaction. I thought, I'm onto something here. So I
Must have an eye
started
here for,
offering
yeah.
boudoir. Yeah, I started doing it. I had an offering of boudoir,
Mm.
and I loved it. Because the reaction that I got at the reveal afterwards was
Oh my
just
God,
like, it was
amazing.
just, yeah, full on tears and stuff. Like, oh my god, I can't thank
Ah,
you so much. I can't believe how good you've made me look and everything. I'm like, oh god, to be able to do that for somebody is so lovely.
yeah,
Yeah, and
right.
quite often I'd be there like, oh, got something in my eye. Um, so so yeah, so that was it. Now the problem with it is that doing that kind of thing, most of my target clients were mothers, or
Mm.
well, yeah, they're mothers, and as you will know, as a mother, mothers don't spend any money on themselves. They'll spend it
No,
all on the kids. They'll spend it on
yes,
everybody else. They will not
yes.
spend it on them. So
No.
marketing it was quite difficult.
Mm.
Um, but the other thing, I think the thing that really kind of killed it off for me was the networking, all the guys in the room. What is it? It was all the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, kind of.
Oh, well,
Oh,
that's
can I come
grim.
and can I come and help you with your lighting? Kind of. It's like,
Like, no.
and when you try and explain to people, you're not looking at what you're kind of looking at shapes and lighting and stuff like that. It's not kind of, oh, look at
Like,
that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah. So I ended up jacking it all in. Um, but I was doing beauty shoots then.
right.
I had a studio out, Brailsway out near Shipson on Stour, which was a beautiful, beautiful building. It was an old cowshed
Mm.
that had been done up, and it got oak floor with underfloor heating and
Oh,
floor to
lovely.
ceiling, floor to ceiling windows, and it was one
Oh,
of those spaces that you just walk into and you just instantly feel relaxed. It
yeah.
just got this real lovely energy about it. Um, so yeah, so I did beauty shoots, and now had a fab pair of makeup artists who I work with, um, and just it was just a fabulous 3 years there.
Wow.
Um, and then unfortunately, at the end of that, there was a unfortunate legal company who was looking to expand their offices, and the first question that the agents asked me when I said I wanted to extend my lease was, "How much would you like to pay? Because you're not paying enough." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't want to play this game."
Yeah,
So I walked
yeah.
away, and at that point, I met a female business coach who I was showing her my work. She was like, "Oh my god, John, these are amazing. You need to do this for women in business." So that's when I started doing
Wow.
personal brands,
Right.
and how I
Okay.
got into personal brand. So yeah,
Because
and
you've also
the
done
rest
with
is kind
some
of history.
event photography as well, haven't you? Is that right?
Yeah, events is something that I kind of don't really. I still do events for some
Mm.
people, primarily people who I've always done them for.
Yeah.
I did market events because I was at that point, at one point I was that photographer that would do everything or
Right.
anything that got thrown my way.
Was asked. Yeah.
Um, but now I'm pretty much only people headshots
Yeah.
and nothing else. I won't, I'm not really a product photographer or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just not my bag. I know what I'm really good at, and
Mm.
I
And it's
focus on
people.
doing that because it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I love photographing people, and being
Yeah.
able to put them at their ease and
Yeah.
make them look good.
Yeah. I think this is the thing, isn't it? I think everyone assumes that just because you can use a camera, actually you can easily photograph anything, but it doesn't work like
Yeah,
that. So just as a prime example, my brother does can take beautiful scenery shots, like landscapes, like epic landscapes. Matt can't do that at all. My husband, Matt, can't do that at all. And likewise, my brother's not particularly strong at the people side of things, but Matt captures beautiful people photography. And I think it's
yeah,
like you do have a tendency as a photographer, I suppose it's like any artist really, to have a leaning towards something from that creativity side of
yeah,
things, right? And
I,
I think one of the things
yeah,
that I
and
like about you is you like putting people at ease. You like those people that actually don't like to have their photo taken, and to help them through those steps to getting more comfortable having their photo taken, and then looking at the photos afterwards and going, oh,
yeah.
actually, quite like that one. Because one of the feedbacks that you've had, and you probably won't mention this, was from Charlotte, who said, "This is the nicest photo anyone has ever taken of me, and I have never liked a photo of myself until this one." Do you remember when she said that? And it was just a
no, I
random
do.
one-off moment that you
Yeah,
were like, "Oh, I'll take the
yeah,
photo while you're here." And I don't think
yeah.
you would sing your praises about that, so I had to get that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I don't. I'm not very good at kind of blowing my own trumpet, really. But yeah, no, that was lovely, and it is. I mean, feedback like that is just wonderful. It just kind of it makes the job all worthwhile.
Right.
Well,
I
it's a
mean, that's
job.
the
It's not
point.
really a job. It's fun, really. Just meeting
You just
people and
enjoy it. Yeah.
taking
Take some
photos. Yeah,
photos. Yeah.
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 But you're right. You're right about that. You know, the whole the thing about your brother and Matt. It's like people do assume, and it's been the same in the lawyer community and the medical profession. You know,
Yeah.
you get general practitioners who will have a go at everything, and then you get people who are kind of deep specialists. And
Yeah.
people quite often will say to me, it's like, "Oh, John, we went on a holiday. You'd have loved it. The scenery was amazing. You'd have been in your element." I'm like, okay. Don't
Like,
say anything, obviously. I
probably
just
wouldn't.
smile
Yeah.
sweetly and say, "Yeah, I'm sure it would have
Yeah.
been lovely." But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not my bag. Not my bag
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. So I have a question. Obviously, I know you relatively well, and I know that you are a keen cyclist. Do you take your camera with you when you go cycling?
No, no.
Not at all. Like, you don't
To
have
be
anything with you at all.
well, I always have my phone with me.
Mm.
So obviously, I mean, camera phones are pretty good these days. There's no they're not yet a replacement for cameras, and I think physics will mean that they probably never will be.
Probably can't. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't very often. I did take my camera with me. So last year I did. There's a charity locally called Molly Ollies who
Mm.
do stuff for sick children, just to help them get through whatever they're going through. And I did last year. I did a cycle for them, but I did it as the official photographer as well, and had my
Right. Okay.
cameras on the back of the bike. They weigh they weigh quite a
Yeah.
lot, those
Imagine.
cameras. And it's
Yeah.
like, I wasn't, because after a little while, I realized that I wasn't really using them,
Right.
or needing to use them for when I was cycling, because I was anticipating that I'd be stopping, and I couldn't, because I was with a team, and it kind of just wasn't practical.
Right.
So we got all the photos that we needed, but yeah, when I took them off, like it was like an extra probably 4 or 5 kilos of weight
Which is
on the
quite a
back of the
lot, isn't
bike.
it?
It
Yeah.
is
It's a lot
quite
when
a
you're
lot.
cycling.
So yeah, so I always have my phone with me, and quite sometimes I'll see some amazing scenery, and
Mm.
I'll stick it on my Strava, because it's a nice reminder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've it's so just because I'm not a scenic photographer, doesn't stop me from appreciating beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
So
So,
the last Go on.
no, no, carry on.
No, I was going to say, last year I went and cycled something called the Rebellion Way. It's something that Cycling UK have created. It's like a historic route around Norfolk, and
Right.
skirts into North Suffolk. But it's all around Boadicea's
Oh,
kind of
that's cool.
old stomping ground. So it's old castles and stuff like that. So I did that. That was just like a 3-day cycle, 220 miles, and took loads of photos on that, because it's just nice to have them. You stick them on the Strava. Do you know what Strava? Do you know what Strava is?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
just an app
cycling, like,
that records your ride. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But you can attach your photos to that, so it's just nice to be able to look back at it and think, "Oh yeah, I remember
Oh,
that."
that's cool. It's like a record of your, like a
Yeah,
journal. It's a cycling journal, I
yeah,
suppose, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It
love
is.
that.
Yeah.
So going back to business, you've
Yes.
been self-employed for a long time. How has it been? Like, what do you think was your biggest learning curve since being self-employed? Because obviously being an employee for as long as you were, and then you were like, right, I'm going to do this. What do you
Oh,
think was your biggest lesson?
it's not a curve. It's like a vertical straight line.
Right. Do you know what I mean?
Because
You think you
this is the
know what
thing
you
is,
need to know, right?
yeah. Well, I'm a photographer. All I need to know is how to work a camera, right? But
Yeah.
no,
And
completely
edit.
wrong. You know,
No.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a massive learning curve, and to be honest, I think when you're in business, I don't think you ever stop learning. You know,
No.
the whole thing. I mean, certainly marketing. Marketing is not really my bag, I have to say. Which
Yeah.
you really need to be on it as a business owner if you're going to succeed. I'm not brilliant at marketing, but yeah, there's just so much to learn, so much stuff to
Mm.
learn, and changes in the law and stuff like this. You know, I'm quite handy on the technical side, so I'm able to kind of
Yes.
more able than most people probably to kind of set stuff up, you know, automations and emails
Mm.
and technical gubbins. Quite able to do that, but again, all of that I've had to learn kind of on the fly. You know, I would have had no idea. In fact, when I first started, I got quoted like 2 or 3 grand for a website, and I'm like, I've got no idea
Yeah.
whether this is going to fly or not. I ain't,
Yeah.
I ain't dropping 2 or 3 grand for a website. So I ended up just kind of creating my own website and learning
Mm.
WordPress inside out, so that I could kind of create my own website. So it's all that kind of stuff, and you know, accounting and marketing, and
Right.
yeah,
Whether
it's
you need
just
to be a
lots
limited
and lots to
company
learn.
or not, what insurance you're supposed to
Yeah,
get, VAT,
yeah,
corporation tax, like you said,
yeah,
legals, all of it. Yeah. I think
yeah. Oh, yeah, all
because
the
I'd been
legal stuff as well.
self-employed. Well, yeah, but because I'd been self-employed for the 3 years before I set up a limited company, I was like, leap's not going to be that great. I'm sure I've got a good grounding for this. It's all good. And then realized that actually there was so much that I didn't know. And obviously, being a lawyer, you would think that I would have a more in depth understanding of stuff, and probably did. I had an awareness of a lot of things that perhaps people didn't. But even I went on this like, holy moly, there is so much I don't know. And you mentioned
Oh,
marketing. I think
really?
that for me, my biggest one. And I'd done a marketing degree, John. I
Oh,
did my
did
first
you?
degree.
I thought you were just straight law. I didn't realise that.
No, no. So obviously this is about me, but I'll tell you quickly. So my first degree was marketing with languages, so marketing French and Japanese. So that's what I did as my first degree. I had no idea what I was going to do when I got out of university, so got a job. But I started off at Britannic Group, which I'm not sure even exists
Right,
anymore. And then went to work at what was Rags, but is now Gowlings as a legal secretary. So I
right.
worked my way up. So studied law
Oh
part
my
time in the
goodness.
evenings while I worked full time. Yeah, yeah. So I did. I had no aspirations to be a solicitor whatsoever before I worked in the law. I didn't even
Yeah.
think it was a profession that was open to someone like me in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. So my story into law is not a kind of conventional. I did a law degree and then was a trainee.
Well,
It's all
that explains why you're an unconventional lawyer then.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I
Yeah,
just, and I always maintain that you don't learn to be a lawyer until you are one, because you don't learn to be a lawyer in a textbook. You learn the law, but you don't learn how to be a lawyer in a textbook. And I think that's what I value a lot about people who teach themselves how to do what they do or are taught rather than learning it just in a textbook. I think
yeah.
it hits differently.
You're absolutely right. And you know, there's nothing like practicing something to actually learn it.
Mm,
I mean, you know, you could read all the books in the world about riding a bike.
right.
You could, you know,
But you can't ride a bike
you,
until you've ridden a
you
bike.
can't ride. Yeah, exactly. You've
This
got to
is
get
it.
on it. You've got to get on it
Yeah.
and ride it and find your balance before you can do it. It's
Or fall
just
off it
that's just the way it is. Yeah,
and hurt yourself
a
on
few
the
times. Yeah,
pedals. Let's be honest, who
yeah,
hasn't hurt the backs of their legs on the pedals of a bike? Like it
absolutely.
hurts.
Ab-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no,
So
exactly.
you, do you say you were self-employed 3 years before you set up your own limited company, and then found
Mm.
out there was way more? Right. Well, we need to have another conversation, and probably offline, because I set up my own limited company a year ago, and I'm thinking I haven't really learnt that much since.
Yeah, I mean, it's only things like just understand what your director's duties are. Understand that
Yeah,
you as a shareholder is not the
yeah,
same thing as you as a director. That your
yeah,
obligations, the decisions you make as a director, are for the benefit of the shareholder, even if
yeah.
you're the same person. That it's those kinds of things.
Okay.
It's not
Do you know?
a huge
Yeah. Do you know what we could do with is some kind of law membership thing that kind of tells us all this stuff. If only
Maybe we
somebody
would.
could come up with something like that.
Don't, John, honestly. So let's talk about that for a second, because obviously you've got a membership and I'm really agonizing over mine. And I'd like insight from you as to what it's been like setting up a membership. How hard was it to actually get it going? What did you have to do to get it ready?
So on the face of it, it's dead simple.
Yeah.
And it kind of is, but it's kind of, a membership is a bit like a swan, I think. You know, the thing about the swan, about it, the kind of a graceful thing, and the flippers going like mad underneath. That's a bit like what a
Mm.
membership's like, I think. So the initial kind of idea was formed, and it probably took me 2 or 3 months of reasonably hard work to kind of shape it, because you've got all the kind of the container of the content, and protecting that from non from protecting it from non-members, and it's just thinking through all the processes and how those processes are going to work. I mean, there's nothing to stop you actually just starting a membership and then kind of doing the thinking afterwards, but I'm kind of not really wired that way. I don't really want
Mm.
to set something up that just looks kind of
A bit naff.
unprofessional. So
Yeah.
yeah, so for me, it's about thinking through what the process is. So I've kind of set up lots and lots of kind of automations that kind of do things. I mean, you'll probably be aware of this from being on the other end of my membership. You'll get
Yes.
automated emails and stuff like that.
Yes.
So
Does
it's
that take much to set
in
up? Because obviously there is quite, like, you really value the automation side of it. Does that take some time and some effort
it
to
yeah,
get
it
in
does. It
place?
takes some time and some thought and some effort. You know, there's some copywriting and just thinking through the process and mapping it all out so that
Mm.
it kind of works. Um, it takes a bit of time, but what you've got to remember is that it saves time in the long run, because
Right.
basically, so what I would have done initially is I would have kind of taken all the photos of people, I'd have exported them, I'd have stuck them onto WeTransfer and sent them all out individually, and then somebody wouldn't have downloaded them, and a week later the download would have expired and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, Whereas this now, I've kind of got folders for every single client. Um, I've got the URL of their folder stored in my email system. So when the photos are done, I just go in and say, right, photos are ready, and it just basically puts them back into the automation and sends the link out and everything else. So it's kind of just thinking through the process, and thinking through what are the time saving things that you can implement
Mm.
to save wasting time. But then again, marketing is a big thing. You know, the the whole marketing of a membership is hard.
Yeah.
You know, getting people into it is tricky. And it's just working out what the best ways to get people in. So I've got
Yeah.
quite a generous referral scheme. So
Mm.
people
Yes.
can save up to 50% of their membership if they recommend people in.
Yeah.
They only need to recommend 2 people in that join, and they've got 50% off the membership, and
Yeah. Which
things
is
like that. So
amazing.
it's just thinking it through, working out how you
Mm.
can save time, and spending the time up front to save it in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think people think that a membership is a kind of set it and forget it type scenario, but it just
Yeah,
isn't, is it?
it's
So
it
it's
is
a
so
constant
not.
moving
Yeah,
beast of
yeah,
you've got to keep the cogs turning, something might go off
yeah,
piece and you've got to bring it back together. And I
absolutely.
suppose for you as well,
Yeah,
yours isn't just a membership. It's kind of a bit of a community as well, because you've got the networking piece and the learning on top of it.
yeah,
It's very much, you're bringing people together. It's not just rocking up for some photos and leaving again. So it's a
yes,
constant, you've got to nurture it constantly, haven't you?
yeah,
It's the thing. And I think
yeah, absolutely.
someone said to me actually about the fact that a lot of people think you can just build it and put it on autopilot and it will run and make you loads of money.
Yeah.
But actually, lots of memberships fail because it's hard. It's a hard graft to
It is hard.
show the value of something initially.
Yeah, you've got to constantly keep adding people into the membership because at some point people will leave because they're not using it. They don't have time to use it. They've the businesses have closed or whatever reason. They're all genuine, valid reasons, and if people want to leave, then fair enough. I don't want anyone to leave, of course, but I understand that people do. So you've got to constantly be kind of trying to top the membership up to. Ideally, you want the people joining to be more than the number of the attrition that you've got.
Yes, exactly. So what do you think the future of Be More Visible looks like? Is it more of the same? Have you got some ideas for branching out? What's the plan?
So when I launched it a year ago, it was a monthly membership. So it's monthly with a 1 hour session each month. A few people who I know really well and like what I do, bless them, joined, but they're kind of too far. They're really too far away to be coming every month. So I have just launched a quarterly version of Let's Get. It's not Let's Get Visible anymore. It's Be More Visible.
Be More Visible.
Quarterly version of Be More Visible, which is.
Is that launched now, so people can sign up to that?
Yes, people can sign up now. Yeah, in fact, I've literally put it on their website this morning.
www.bemorevisible.online.
It's just bemorevisible.online. There's no www required. So the idea of that is that people who live further away, because we're both in a network, and we know there are people right up north and down south who have been clamoring for Be More Visible, but it's too far away from them. So the idea of this is that they can come along to a session. The idea is it will be a 2-hour session rather than the 1 hour, 3 1-hour sessions. They'll get 1 2-hour session instead. So we'll get just as many images in that time. And the other thing that I'm doing with it is that it will be somewhere where we can do indoor and outdoor photos. But also there'll be a session in the morning and a session in the afternoon. So I'm looking at 10 till 12 and then 1:30 till 3:30 in the afternoon. And then, because we all have to eat, there will be an optional chargeable informal networking lunch in between. So anybody who's in the morning can stay on for lunch, or people in the afternoon can come early and have lunch first. So
amazing. And hence the networking thing again. Yeah.
And hence the networking thing, because I quite like my networking. So, but the idea of that. So I've just got one at the moment planned in. The dates are all in the diary.
What's the date? I want to do with that. Watching. Can you remember? If you can't.
26th of March is the first one.
Okay.
So it's open now for the 26th of March, because so it's 75 quid a month. So there's basically 3 payments to be made for the 26th of March one. So and then the idea is that as the group, what I want to do is get 2 groups ideally. So I want one kind of slightly north of Birmingham, one slightly south of Birmingham. So anybody who's travelling up from like Somerset or Hampshire or whatever, haven't got to get past Birmingham, and then the people who are coming down from Cheshire or Doncaster or wherever can get. So that will be the plan. The first one I think will be dead centre, just to make it easier for everyone. But the plan is to get a second one, and the beauty of having the second one, of course, is that there's then 2 dates. So anybody who's on the quarterly, if a client goes and stomps on the 26th of March, there's another date that they can make. It might not be quite as convenient location wise, but at least it'll be sorted.
That's a good idea.
So I can probably maybe even have 4 or 5 of those groups. And the more groups I've got, obviously, the more choice people have. So it's kind of
because they don't have to go to the one that they are booked on to, as in like the one
Yes, absolutely.
that's closest
Yeah,
to
they're
them.
just
Yeah.
yes, yeah. It'll be like the monthly. So if you're a member of the
Mm.
monthly, there's a Birmingham, there's a Coventry, there's a Lamington, and you can do whichever one you want. So
Yeah.
the idea is that the quarterly ones, there'll be more than one quarterly one, and you can just book onto whichever one you want for that quarter.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. So,
Yeah.
so tell me, John, what are your top tips for someone who absolutely hates having their photo taken? Like hates it with a passion, would rather
Okay.
curl up in a pool and die than have their photo taken?
Well, the first one would be don't die.
Ideally.
So it's the thing for me is it's just about putting people at their ease, and different people have got different things that they don't like about. So some people, it's actually the process of kind of being so under the microscope, as it were,
Looked at. Yeah.
kind of looked at so directly, they just can't
Mm.
cope with that. And for some people, it's actually just seeing the results. Some people can be photographed. It's the results they don't like. So I always ask people, when people come to me, it's like, are you okay with being photographed? What, if they've got a problem with it, what actually is the problem?
Mm.
And for some people, it's how they look. So, it might be they just think they've got too many chins, or, I've got a client who's like, their boobs, they think their boobs are too big, and stuff like that. So it's just trying to work out what it is. I wouldn't say there's a one size fits all kind of answer to it, but if people want to be photographed and they feel like they need to be photographed, I guess my biggest tip would be find a photographer who understands how to put you at your ease, but also knows how to pose you in a way that whatever it is that you don't like is minimized.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just so important. There's a little story, if I may,
Go for it.
from my wedding photography days. As a wedding photographer, I always insisted on doing a pre-wed shoot, because for me it was really important that I have a bit of time with the couple and build a relationship up with them before the big day, rather than just turning up with a camera. But also it was about finding out what their foibles are in terms of being photographed. So there was one couple who I was photographing, and we did the pre-wed shoot, and took this photograph of the bride, and she looked beautiful, and I'm like, oh god, you look really lovely on this, and showed her it on the back of the camera, and she's like, I hate it. Like,
Why did
what?
she hate it?
She said, I hate. She said, I hate it. I said, well, why do you hate it? What is it? She said, I hate my arms. My arms look fat. I'm like, oh no, that's really. So I'm like, have you got sleeves on your wedding dress? No. Like, okay, this is gonna be a challenge. But what it was, and this is a realized sense, a problem that I get with a lot of clients is quite often when people get photographed, they put their arms against their body, and when your bicep is relaxed and you put it against your body, it naturally spreads out and looks wide, i.e. fat, which it's not. So just pulling your bicep away from your body just narrows it and makes it look less fat. So once we'd sussed that out, we'd started taking photos, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's so much better."
Okay, that's
so
fine.
she knew on her wedding day that she had to keep her arms away from body when she's being photographed.
And actually, therefore, not see the photos afterwards and go,
oh my god, I hate all my photographs because my arms look fat anymore.
Yeah, and that's all she could fix.
So if anybody's watching that's getting married, always have a pre-wed shoot for that reason.
Yeah. I think one of the things as well, actually, the benefits I've seen, because I hate having my photo taken, or hated having my photo taken, should I say, because for a couple of reasons. I felt really awkward. Like, I have no problem conversing in the spotlight. I don't like having to be static and being watched. It's like, I don't know, it just feels like a really strange thing to do, to have to pose and stand and smile and all that sort of thing. And I think because we have monthly shoots, the repetition has helped me get more relaxed each time I've had the photography done. And one of the things as well, again, is getting used to seeing your face on a photo, because this sounds really stupid, but the older I've gotten, I still feel quite young. So when I see a photo, I'm like, oh, this is my mother looking back at me. That's weird. So you get used to seeing those photos, so it kind of takes off that edge of those things that bother you, because you're doing
Yeah.
it so often.
You're absolutely spot on with that,
Yeah.
with because that's my experience with so many clients. And what I often say to people is like, the thing about not having a photograph taken, the more you don't have it done, the more it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And the more it's a thing, the less you want to actually have it done. And this is the beauty of Be More Visible, is when you get into the cadence of having photos done every month, it becomes less of a thing, because it's just like, oh, it's
Yes.
just photos with John today. It's no biggie. It's the first time people turn up, and yeah, they're like rabbits in headlights, and like, I don't know what to do. And then they kind of get into the swing of it, and actually, it's not as bad as I thought. But the other thing that I find as well, it's like you saying about photos of you, is, and this is a quite common human thing, is that when we see photos of ourselves, we always dive straight into all the things that we don't like about ourselves. And it could be our age, because I'm just, I'm still 18. It's like,
Right.
I
In my
am
head,
still
I'm
18,
25.
but for some reason, yeah, well, maybe I'm 25 is probably better, actually. 18 was shit. Um, yeah, 25 is better. So yeah, so in my head, I'm still 25. I mean, and for some reason, my body doesn't look 25 anymore, and
No.
I can't quite work it out. But you have to live with it. But yeah, so we just dive into the things that we don't like about ourselves, and it's just a natural thing. But what I always say to people is, when you see a photo of somebody else, do you look at them and think, "Oh God, haven't they got wonky teeth
Yeah.
or
Like, you
sticky out
just
ears or
don't.
something?" We
Yeah.
just don't. We just don't do it.
No.
So why do we think that people will do it to our photos? Because they're
Right.
not going to.
Why
They're
are you
just going to say,
bullying
"Oh look, there's
yourself?
Catherine." Does
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? There's
Right.
Catherine. Doesn't she look fab? Or do you know what I mean? It's just, it's
Yes.
crazy. It is
It is
crazy.
bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. I don't know why we do it to ourselves, but we're our own worst critics, aren't we? This is the thing. And yeah, I
We
think
certainly are.
Be More Visible. Be More Visible will alleviate that. Stop you from bullying
Yeah,
yourself
definitely.
in photographs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, John, we're obviously nearly coming up to time. I can't believe how quickly this conversation has
Yeah,
gone. And you
I
were
know.
worrying about what we would
I
talk
thought
about. I
we
told you it would
yeah,
be fine.
I thought we'd run out of things to talk about in about 10 minutes.
I can keep people talking. It's all good. So, John, what would be like? I don't know. What would be what? Is there anything else that you want people to know about Be More Visible? Because I know it can be a bit difficult to describe the experience. Can people come along and maybe experience a day with you? What is it that you would want them to know that perhaps you haven't already told them?
So, well, I guess who is Be More Visible aimed at? I guess Be More Visible is aimed at people who are primarily service based.
Right.
And the reason it's primarily service based is that when we are selling a service, our clients can't see that service. There's no kind of tangible thing that they can see. All they can go off is what people say, and
Yeah.
who you are, what you look like. So Be More Visible really is kind of like it's like a 12 episode personal brand shoot, is kind of how I kind of couch it. It's there to help people to get to know you before they make the decision to pick up the phone and talk to you. So because it is so important, and I think as service based business owners, we don't think about this. We just think, oh, I've got service, and people will buy it. But the problem is, and I was talking to somebody about this morning, it's like in the olden days, we just pick up the yellow pages, flick to whatever section we want, and pick up the phone. and that's who we'd work with. Nowadays, we can do loads of research and really kind of make a really good informed decision about who we're going to work with. And, similar to Coca-Cola and McDonald's, who are very good at kind of getting into our heads and staying there, we can do that for our own service by just being more visible and people seeing us everywhere. And photographs help do that. I often say that, our branding as small businesses, our branding isn't that important. What people recognize is our face. And so making sure that people see your face all the time will make sure that when they need you, you're the first person that they ring. So that's what it's all about. And like you said earlier, the cadence of doing it regularly doesn't matter how much you hate the idea of having your photo taken. It does, and it will get easier and actually not become a thing anymore.
100%.
Plus, you'll meet some really nice people while you're doing it.
Right, exactly. What's not to love about that? So, John, what's the best place to get hold of you? Obviously, your website, which is www.bemorevisible.online. But is there any other way that people best to get in touch with you?
Well, yes, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm afraid I don't walk to talk as much as I should do. I do need to be more visible on LinkedIn, but I'm on LinkedIn.
Every other job, though, isn't it? My husband's a carpenter. You would think I would have beautiful bespoke furniture through my house. I do not. I have half finished jobs through my house. You think that? In fact, I was going to say you think I'd have beautiful photos in my house. I do actually have beautiful photos in my house that Matt has taken, so I can't complain about that. But yeah, lawyers, not brilliant at getting their own contracts in place. Great at looking after everybody else's. It's always the way.
Indeed. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. But yeah, Be More Visible or LinkedIn, or you can go to linktr.ee/John Cleary, and you'll find me there as well. But yeah, I'm pretty easy to get hold of if you need to.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, John. I really appreciate you taking the time out to hang out with me. And if anyone wants some amazing photos every month for 12 months, then please get in touch with John.
Thank you.